What is up, guys? I've been asked several times on my stream how do I set up the one-shot death bolt build? Like what goes behind it? And I was trying to start a YouTube channel this weekend, and I talked about it with my stream and everything. And I'm gonna walk you through everything that you need to have in order to get the biggest crits possible. All right, we're gonna go through conduits. We're gonna go through talents. We're going to go through the exact rotation that you need to do just to get the big 40 to 60 Ks, sometimes a 70 Ks if you're lucky. All right, let's jump right into it. We're going to start off with the talents. Most important thing for your talents is going to be Writhe and Agony. So many warlock players come into my stream and they're like, why are you playing Writhe and Agony? Why don't you play Absolute Corruption? The agony stacks, I was just testing this out just to make sure this is exactly how it works. But the agony stacks, here, I'll show you on a test dummy here. If I'm playing Writhe and Agony, all right, scroll down to the bottom. You'll see it as it ramps up to 18. Let's get it to 18. Once it gets to 18, it's going to be ticking for about 1,000. About 1,000 a tick, like 2,000 a crit. Right? So you're about the 18 mark. You're at 18 stacks over here. Now you're at 887 for agony damage right now. Alright, now if I switch to Absolute Corruption and I drop this from a 18 stack to a 10 stack, you see it drop from an 800 to a 400. It's literally half of the damage. Half of the damage. And in order to do the one shot, you have to have the most damage coming from dots as you possibly can. Now you see like the occasional 986 crit, whereas whenever you're playing the Writhe and Agony, you have the 1700 crit. So it's going to be really important for the one shot build that you have Writhe and Agony. Even though you're going to be a little bit global starved, it is what it is. You're going for the big one shots. It doesn't matter. Alright. So your talents, the most important ones by far, Writhe and Agony. The other one's kind of optional. Inevitable Demise is a must. You never want to play Nightfall. You never want to play Drain Soul. Dark Pact, in the meta currently, Dark Pact is guaranteed to be every game. The only thing that I highly, highly recommend is that you have a cancel or a macro. And if you don't know what that is, I'll have a link to all of my macros and add-ons down in the description below. But highly, highly recommend you make a cancel aura macro for cancel aura Dark Pact if you're playing against a Necro Warrior. If you're playing a Necrolord Warrior, somehow their talents is busted and they can Shattering throw you for your entire health bar. Don't want that to happen, so if you ever see a warrior that has Avatar, Necrolord Warbanner up, then you're going to have to cancel this Dark Pact against that character. Alright, next one's guaranteed. You're always going to play Phantom Singularity. It's actually a really important row in this, because you're going to get that Phantom with all of the extra modifiers for your biggest death bolt possible. These two are kind of optional. A lot of people, whenever they switch into the death bolt, they want to have Mortal Coil just because so the target can't get out and interrupt you, which is good. I personally like Howl of Terror. It's completely up to you. It's all optional here. Grimoire Sacrifice, always a must. All these are absolute trash in PvP. Also, Dark Soul Misery. This is the reason why this is so super strong. Now, this right here, this is honestly, out of the PvP talents, this is the most important thing to this entire build. Rapid Contagion. For the next 20 seconds, all of your damage over time effects occur 33% more often. Alright? And a lot of Warlocks don't understand, because this requires 3 shards, that, okay, I can't Death Bolt because this requires 3 shards too, that I can't use this talent because I'm going to need to get off the Death Bolt instantly so I get the max damage. Alright, so I'll explain to you the rotation on why we do play Rapid Contagion, because the Rapid Contagion also goes into all of the dot damage to make the Death Bolt as big as possible. Alright, and then obviously Demon Armor. If you're playing against melee, you're always going to pick Demon Armor. If you're playing against casters, you can switch out Demon Armor for Nether Ward. Or you can switch out Demon Armor for Rampant Afflictions. It's whatever you prefer. Depends on which caster you're fighting. But yeah, let's jump into some conduits. Let me explain to you why I play what I play. These are kind of self-explanatory. Obviously, I don't have 252 because I'm lazy and I haven't farmed it. But if you have 252 conduits, obviously those are always better. So for the biggest death bolt possible, it's going to come from the Dreamweaver row. All right, because haste amplifies all of your dots. The more haste you have, the faster your dots tick, the more damage the dots deal. All right, and Death Bolt. Let's read Death Bolt real quick. Death Bolt launches a bolt of death at a target, dealing 50% of the total remaining damage of your damage over time effects on the target. So it deals 50% of all of the dot damage that you have up. So if you have the most amount of haste, whenever this goes off, 50% of that haste amplified dots that are on the target, it's going to cause it to hit as hard as possible. So it's really, really important to have the most haste that you can. But yeah, these are the rest of the talents that I do. If you have the 252s, like I said, play them, like use them. But like Soul Eater, this is where almost all of your damage for the Death Bolt is going to come in, because Soul Rot with Dark Soul, Rapid Contagion, your Burst Trinket, everything makes this hit so hard. This dot right here alone does more damage than all of your other dots that are going to be on the target. Alright. This right here is kind of optional. Corrupting Leer. It causes, let's just read it off. Agony and Unstable Affliction damage have pretty much a 5% chance to reduce the cooldown of Summon Dark Glare by 5 seconds. If you have Agony on 2 targets, say you're playing 2, say you're playing 3s, if you have Agony on 3 targets with a UA, then you're going to have a 15% chance, or 10 to 15% chance to have that 5 seconds cut off your Dark Glare. And Dark Glare is baseline normally a 2-minute cooldown. So it lines up perfectly with your Dark Soul Misery. But sometimes, if you get lucky with like a lot of these percent chance, like cutting down 5 seconds every time it procs, you can get down to the minute mark with Dark Glare. I've gotten down to 45-second marks with Dark Glare. It just depends on how lucky you are. So yeah, I like this one because it kind of gives me a smaller go in between my big Dark Soul burst. Accrued Vitality, like I said before, but same thing with Dark Pact. It's a very bursty meta, and this right here actually helps a lot, a tremendous amount with healing. Whenever you drain life with full inevitable demise stacks, this heals for so much afterwards. Like I've seen 13, 26k hot over 8 seconds, every 1 second for 8 seconds. So you can get really, really big accrued vitality stacks out of getting off the big drain lives with Soul Rot, so on and so forth. This is optional, but this is the reason why you want to play Dreamweaver right here. So Soul Rot puts the flowers at your feet for 12 seconds and increase your haste by 15% while you stand with them. So now that is what I'm talking about with all of the haste amplifiers that increase all your dots over time. So that's going to help you get 15% increased speed on all of your dots, so you get the biggest Death Bolt possible. Because like I said before, Death Bolt does 50% of all of your dots damage. The more haste you have, the more dots do. Alright. Rolling Agony just increases the duration of Agony. It's kind of like a... It just helps with you with global usage, really. Demonic Momentum. Kiting is very, very important whenever you're playing a Warlock. Super important whenever you're playing a Warlock. So, using your teleport properly. I'm going to be having a video coming out soon of me. I actually made an Alliance Warlock. Talked about this on stream. I made an Alliance Warlock. Started it from scratch. I wanted to do like a 0 to 2400 tutorial on like all of the games that I play, and like tips and tricks on what I'm doing while I'm doing it. I'll try to break down some of the things as I do it. But yeah, this is actually one of the most important, because it's actually it gives you that 54% movement speed, and it frees your movement impairment effects. So like if you're slowed by something and you use your portal, then you get that 54% movement speed, and now you're not slowed anymore. So it's actually very, very good whenever you're playing against warriors with hamstring, playing against a survival hunter with his slow on you, and then obviously the Dream Delver, which increases all the damage you deal to the target by 3% baseline pretty much. Just always stays up. But yeah, we'll jump into exactly how I do the Death Bolt. Well, I'll go over like how I set up the Rapid Contagion, how I do max damage. And for the people that do not know like exactly how Deathbolt works, you're gonna see right here. I'm gonna go through this, and I have this add-on, Trophy GCD, where you can see all of my spells being cast over here. So you can see everything that's popping up over here. So if you have any questions, slow down the video, and you can look at every single global that I press. All right. So the first things first, we're gonna try to get to 18 stacks of agony. That's your #1 priority. So 18 stacks is always going to be your #1 priority. You always want to make sure you have the most damage going into your Deathbolt as humanly possible. See, I see a lot of warlocks whenever I'm fighting them. They try to like rush this. If you just sit on your dots, like wait for a healer to dispel at the wrong time, and then you get off the maximum burst, then you can do some really, really crazy damage. So we have our 18 stacks of agony. So we're doing the biggest agony that we can right now. We have our corruption. We want to make sure these are refreshed as soon as we get our UA up. All right. So we're gonna refresh them. We're gonna cast the UA. I'm gonna go ahead and use my rapid contagion, soul rot, phantom singularity, dark glare, dark soul, deathbolt. So right there, that deathbolt by itself did 59,764. Now in arena, this is obviously going to scale down a little bit, just because this target that I'm hitting now doesn't have versatility. But if I were to get off that rotation right there in an arena, I would be hitting 45k to 50k. That's after the nerf. This is post. It can't crit anymore. It's still doing that kind of damage. And this is what I was saying earlier. Soul Rot. Look at the Soul Rot damage right here. This Soul Rot is critting for 5,404 a crit, with a normal hit at 2,836. So normally it's not going to hit for that hard. I'll show you just like a regular one without buffs right here in just a second. But yeah, normally it's not going to hit that hard. But with I have a badge trinket, which is it's a 259 badge trinket. So this is a lot of damage coming from the spell. But one of the most important things that I do want to go over is the legendary also. So like the legendary plays a huge role in this, and I know I'm back to me being lazy. I have a 235 legendary still. Anyway, this legendary, super important whenever you're trying to get this big Deathbolt, because this legendary, this is actually the Covenant specific legendary. This is the Decaying Soul Satchel for the night phase. Every time that you soul rot, every person that it hits, it increases your haste by 5%, and it increases your critical strike by 5%. So now the Deathbolts can't crit anymore, but the haste is what we need, because the haste is what amplifies the Deathbolt, because the haste amplifies the dots. And the Deathbolt deals 50% of the damage that the dots would normally deal. Okay? So, this legendary, if you're trying to do the one shot, you absolutely have to play this legendary. Now, this is completely left up to you. If you have an insignia, if you have a shackle, if you prefer to play those, more than welcome to. Like, that's not the biggest game changer. Now, I like to have the instant primary stat whenever I'm trying to get the Dark Soul burst going, because I have a Dark Soul macro that actually has my Dark Soul, it has my Blood Fury, it has my badge, it has everything in the macro, so all I have to do is press the burst macro and then cast Deathbolt. But it's going to be very important that you have this legendary, because this is what you're going to get the extra crit, the extra haste, so all of your dots are going to be critting, and then you're going to get a lot of damage from it. I'm not even online. I'm not sure how on earth somebody just followed me, but anyway, I appreciate the follow. But yeah, I'm going to walk you through it one more time. We're going to do it slow, and I'm going to try to explain to you one more time just to make sure everybody got it. And if you have any more questions, tune into the Twitch. I answer as many questions as I can. Twitch.tv/RoxyBolts. I normally stream. I try to stream every day that I'm off. I'm actually a firefighter, so I have kind of a weird schedule. I work 24 on, 48 off. So I can have definitely a weird schedule. But yeah, let's try to do one more Deathbolt to show you that it's pretty consistent on damage. So we're gonna make sure we have our agonies. We make sure we have our corruption. You want to have a fresh UA. So you're gonna go back into it. You're gonna cast a unstable affliction into a rapid contagion to a phantom singularity, and now you have the haste buff from that. And then you have a big Deathbolt. So that one there hit for 57,000. and it's going to be very consistent in PvP. As long as if you're playing at low rating, you're going to get this off very, very often, because this is such a fast cast, and a lot of the low rated players, they can't even kick. They're not even used to kicking such a fast cast spell. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the one-shot build, how to do it. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to tune into the Twitch. We'll be streaming as much as we can, and we answer any questions there. But if you have any more, like any other questions that you want answered specifically about different builds, I'm going to be doing different guides on like the regular 2s build, because there's a lot of different options that you can do. You can play with like Sacrilash, you can play with the claws. Like there's so many different builds that you can play for Affliction that actually are really, really good. I've been doing a lot of them on stream as we've been playing. We mostly do viewer games, but still have a blast. But yeah, that's pretty much wraps it up for the one-shot build. Thank y'all for watching. Like and subscribe. Peace.